This time last year, Marcos Ambrose sealed his first championship win by winning the final round in Sydney.
Eastern Creek Raceway, west of Sydney, just under 4 kilometres, anti-clockwise in direction, an average speed under the old 100 miles an hour, about 154 k's. Here is the circuit layout, that very fast left-hander at turn 1. It is a blinder. So exciting to watch V8 supercars through there. Down to the very slow turn 2, about 75 k's. Turn 3 and then up over the rise across the tunnel into turn 4 and 5. Very long, slow corners. And then that awkward approach, 6 and 7, round the back of the dam. Turn 8, Corporate Hill into that very slow right-hand turn 9, and then a fast blast, 10 and 11, brings you to the very final corner, and a run down the main straight in front of the grandstand.
Let's recap the grid now for race 1 here at Eastern Creek, and this fascinating front row, a battle that has assumed Brock Johnson proportions of late. Ambrose versus Scaife, Ford versus Holden. Two drivers who will not give anything away, in spite of the fact that Ambrose can afford to be conservative. Lowndes and Kelly on the second row. And then we have Bright and Ingle, Russell pointing to that very important battle for second place in the championship. That's assuming Ambrose can do the job. Bright is still in contention for the overall victory. The better electrical Fords have qualified very well at this event, and Max Wilson, without a ride next year, is looking to prove something. David Bernard penalised a couple of positions, but no worse than 10th because he did qualify for the shootout. Just behind them by hundredths of a second, Jason Bargwanna, one of the drivers there. And the Dick Johnson Racing car is a little unlucky not to be in that shootout. They've showed good speed all weekend. Warren Luff back in 15th beside Stephen Ellery. A little further down the grid, Jason Richards, the only homegrown driver here. He's a New Zealander, but the team is based in Sydney, at least until next year, and then Sydney won't have a team at all. Simon Wills and Cameron McConville. McConville winning the round at Winton earlier this year. Then the Kmart cars, Neil Crompton. That is a heck of a shock to see those two cars so far back, with Murphy still a title contender. The engines rev to a mighty V8 roar. And here we go. Brilliant start from Marcos Ambrose. Scaife a little tardy off the line. He's under threat from Craig Lowndes. Coming from the second row at him very hard. And look at Lowndes sweeping around this amazing corner. Is that Kelly or Scaife? It's Scaife.
It was Kelly down the inside. Kelly was on the inside of Scaife, and they made contact, and Scaife spun. It creates chaos back in the pack, and there's a problem with the HRT car, and now Kelly goes straight ahead at turn 2. It could not be worse for the Holden Racing team.
A 1-2 punch, and it's knockout for Scaife and Kelly. And more drama here. Garth Tander, who has had a brilliant finish to the season.
I could smell that coming. You could see the two of them starting to squeeze as they got to turn 1. Mark made a poor jump. Kelly got away better. Marcus made a beautiful jump and led them away. And we had Scaife spinning, going out into the grass. Look at the Dodo car. Simon Wills has got right rear damage on that car. Greg.
Just been to the Gary Rogers Motorsport Garage. The team in there tell me that Garth is reporting some sort of drive line breakage on the line. That's what's caused Garth to bow out at this early stage.
He's been in red-hot form, Tander. He would have been expecting an excellent finish to not only the season, but his career with that team. He's changing teams next year, but now it all ends in tears. Of course, there are 2 more races. He can restart and salvage something, but he was very well placed on the grid. Still, the smoke pours from Simon Wills' car, and he was qualifying quite strongly as well. Not in the top 10, but showed quite a bit of pace here this weekend. And there's the stricken car of Todd Kelly. So a lot of carnage here before the race is really warmed up. Let's have another look.
Replay from Mark Scaife. Marcus gets the jump. Mark goes down the inside, trying to cover anybody from coming through, and then all of a sudden he gets the whack. What we can't see there is that Todd is underneath him, and around they go. Cars. This is the one that'll tell the story. The replay from Russell Ingall's car. Scaife going left. Kelly up the inside. Oh, that was never going to be on. That was never going to be on down there.
Russell Ingall in 3rd position here is strengthening his claim on that, and that historic 1-2 finish for the team.
Oh, huge news. Sorry, Billy, to talk over the top of you. They're going to ping Mark Scaife for jumping at the start. I saw it flinch when he put it in gear, and they may have adjudged that he went across the white line. If you penetrate the line, even by a millimetre, you're a goner. So bad goes to rotten for Mark Scaife, and he will now serve a drive-through. And
he has had the most extraordinary season from so many strong qualifying positions. And yet, it has been a sequence of disasters when it comes to the race itself.
We're into the sequence now where the pit window is open for the compulsory stop. Marcus Ambrose has done a 33.4. He's the only man in the 33s. He's braining them. He's got a margin of over 2 seconds. And Ambrose, Lowndes, Radisich, Bright, Bernard, Bargwanna, Richards, Morris, Ellery, Brad Jones. That's the top 10 as Mark Scaife peels off John Bowe as well. Remember that the Scaife in is for... Oh, there's drama. See, right up the very back there, somebody actually drilled another car on the braking approach to the 40K line. Didn't see exactly which car it was, but he was seriously locked up.
The pit stop window was open. They're coming in. Engel. So far, so good for Stone Brothers Racing. Concertina up behind them.
Oh, problem there. He had a problem with the right front nut. Very slow.
Wait.
Yeah, Engel, you're right, Neil. Slow with the right front, and also when he was ready to go, he got jumped by Rick Kelly and Steve Johnson, so bad for Russell.
Worse than bad. That was a shocker, wasn't it? Scaife has served the penalty. I'm assuming that was the penalty he served then and it wasn't his compulsory stop. He's got to take... I understand you have to take those individually.
So Engel drops some track position here. Ambrose in command. Lowndes, Radisich, Bright, Bernard, Bargwanna, Stephen Richards, Morris, Ellery, Jones. That's your top 10.
They're instructing Mark Scaife to stay out there at the moment. If he took his compulsory stop right now, he'll go down a lap, which makes it even worse for him. Here's another angle. The Zinger replay shows the start. Look at Marcus. He just makes a blinder. He leaps away from the line. And he does it easily. Craig gets a pretty good start as well. It goes to the outside of Mark. Scaife comes down to the left, but Todd is right underneath him here at a critical point, makes contact right at the apex, and the Ford fans go nuts. Now, I don't know about the Scaife jumping. I reckon on the shot that we had initially off the concrete wall, when he put it in first gear, I saw him flinch. I wouldn't be surprised if when it flinched, he's penetrated the white line, because to me, I didn't see any evidence of him creeping away on those shots that we had there.
Lowndes. Smooth pit stop for Ford Performance Racing. A horrific start to the season. Engine failures galore, but they've gathered it up. And they're looking strong.
Wait. Go.
Billy, the front guys on Craig Lowndes' car were quite quick, but the left rear was a little on the slow side for Lowndes, so it would have held him up, albeit fractionally.
Murphy had to give way to traffic there. Brad Jones ahead of him and just a little further on. Jason Bargwanna.
Absolutely.
His lead is 7.8 seconds from Paul Radisich. These cars are yet to make their first stops. Bright third, Bernard, Stephen Richards, Paul Morris, Stephen Ellery, Cameron McConville, Glenn Seaton.
Fastest lap of the race remains a 33.4 for Marcus Ambrose, 7.8 seconds over Paul Radisich. So they're just letting Marcus go in clean air.
Radisich, Marcus, +9.
+9 seconds, amazing.
That best lap is a second better than anyone else, which is quite extraordinary.
He's the only person to record a 33. Bright's done a 4.5. Radisich has done a 4.4. There are a couple of other fellas that have got into the 4s, and the majority of the field's actually jammed in the 35s, mostly due to traffic at the moment. They all trip over each other. Radisich.
I'll call you out as soon as the car drops. It looks like we can go, but I'll call you out.
Surprised when they get onto the next set of tyres if we don't start to see some quick times in these cooling conditions.
Well, that is another driver.
Front right.
Another driver to move teams next year.
Some brake pad materials ignited there.
Okay,
once that rotor turns, it won't be a problem. And away he goes.
Dust sweeps the circuit from an earlier car that put a wheel perhaps on the edge. Jason Bright, what are his chances of taking this championship? Well, he hasn't made a pit stop yet. They're gambling a little bit here. Bright have to do something different and hope that Ambrose has some kind of failure, as was the case at Symmons Plains.
Bright from Owen Kelly, Anthony Tratt, Steve Ellery. They're the 4 that have yet to pit. And then Marcus Ambrose. In fact, Ella is now just coming in. Oh, problems here. This is...
that's
Jason
bad.
Richards absolutely backing into John Bowe down at turn 2. And that'd be the last thing John Bowe would be expecting to feel, because he certainly wouldn't have seen it. That's from an earlier incident, I understand. So this is the replay. And obviously something happened with the Winterbottom car. That's why it had a deflated front right. And John Bowe, an innocent victim there, gets nailed by Kiwi Jason Richards. Wow. High-speed approach there, and he's given him a real drilling.
Bright hasn't won a race since the third race of round 5 at Barbagallo. It's been a bit of a struggle for him. He suffered a major damage in a nasty collision.
Okay, England Lounge last lap was in a 34.7, mate.
On the Gold Coast.
Phil Key talking to Jason Bright, copies the message. Bright's leading at the moment. This man, Greg Murphy, in 17th, made a little bit of ground. Remember, he started, was at 22nd alongside his teammate. It's always going to be a long grind in the first race. You just hope that a few people make mistakes, which they have, and you just beaver away. One of the things that Murphy does very well is race well. He tends to grind away out there and push and push and push, and he's been able to occasionally snatch one back out of Disasterville several times through the year. You can tell by the amount of wheel work and the amount of sliding that car's doing that it's not a particularly nice car.
Well, Neil, Todd Kelly had a pretty good stop in here, but it seemed like Marcus Ambrose had gone past the pits while he was in here, so it looks like Todd has probably gone a lap down now after that first lap incident.
Yeah, it just rains bad news there at the moment. That's not a good scenario. I've seen team cars get together before, and it certainly makes everybody wince in the garage. It's not something that anybody ever wants to see. It does happen from time to time. Craig Lowndes in 5th at the moment, but we're still waiting for some of these stops to unfold. The question mark for Craig was going to be, he did a longer run yesterday and the tyres were degrading on him past his peak speed. It was dropping away in lap speed, but if they've been able to slowly boost the performance of this car over the last couple of practice sessions, they may have made it a little more consistent. John Russell's engineering that car.
When you factor in that Jason Bright and Owen Kelly up the front are yet to make their stops, looking at the first 10 cars that have already made their pit stops, there's a lot of Fords in there. It's been a pretty good round for them so far. Craig's
done the 3rd quickest time of the event so far. Fastest man has been Marcus Ambrose, Jason Bright, and then Craig. Craig's done a 34 neat, a 134 flat. Ambrose has done a 133.4, and Jason Bright's done a 133.9.
Coincidentally, Lowndes' best result this season for a team that struggled was his 2nd placing at this circuit back in April, but it was raining that day, and at a time when the car was not handling well, it was a great leveller for him. He qualified 15th, I believe, on that occasion, in relatively dry conditions, which was more indicative of where the team was at that stage of the championship. They have improved a lot, though. They've qualified very well and they've raced very well in the last few rounds. Lowndes has picked his way through. He was 6th and 13th at Symmons Plains, having run into some problems. Ran very strongly on the Gold Coast, was 7th and 4th, and then at Bathurst, of course, that famous 2nd placing with Glen Seaton.
We saw an interesting graphic go up there a moment ago. We've got a 31-odd second margin between 1st and 2nd. You're talking about a total pit stop transit time here of about 41 seconds to come in, and let's assume that the Jason Bright and Paul Wheel Racing crew are able to do, inverted commas, a normal stop. That's about the total time loss. So that would put Bright somewhere in the region of about 10 seconds down on the ideal margin to come out and challenge Marcus Ambrose, which would put him in a reasonable position, certainly
about 4th or 5th.
Yeah, probably sort of hold the position he's been in. So by staying out, I don't think much has happened. Certainly not going to, and here he is, so we'll be able to turn theory into reality here in a couple of moments.
Here's the crucial moment. Ambrose now goes through. Craig Lowndes will probably go through, and we'll find out, hopefully, visually, where Jason Bright has joined this queue. Ambrose with clean air, of course. Now, Bright back in the mix.
boys said in pit lane before that they expected to see David Bernard faring well, and I think his pit stop's been pretty effective. He's showing 4th, and that's Bright's come out in front of him. So
that's Bright now in 4th position.
And so David Bernard is continuing this strong run, having wrapped up a race win in race 3 at Tasmania. That's the voice of Jason Bright in the background saying great stop. He tries to squeeze up. This will be the reason why that car's in the pits. He squeezed up underneath Brad Jones and turns him.
And Paul Morris is none too pleased about it either, Neil. That left front tyre rod has broken. Incidentally, the garage this team shares with Team Kiwi, that car's also parked at the moment. Craig bared out of it for some reason. That mysterious misfire, which they've suffered for a number of sessions in the Team Kiwi Commodore, has reared its ugly head again. On the jacks, it revs fine, but once they get it out there and circulating, it will not rev above 4,000 RPM cleanly.
Meantime, Marcus Ambrose, 10.9 seconds last time through. That'll update as he goes through now over Craig Lowndes, and still just on the same margin, just a tiny fraction under 11 seconds. That's an extraordinary margin in such a great field, but I reckon the telltale, Bill, was the shootout. This car looked so good, and Marcus did his time so neatly that everybody else, Lowndes and Skate, for example, had to work a lot harder to get a lap time out of their car. I had a look at turn 4 earlier in the day in the Saturday warm-up at this car over there, which is a noted difficult corner. It's got a big bump on the approach right there. It's always hard to get to the apex, and if your car's going to slide a lot, it always slides over the brow. It's absolutely rock solid there.
This team has been a perfect model for working beautifully to their driver's style. As we look at another picture of driving style in Craig Lowndes. He's second at the moment, and he's 3 seconds ahead of Jason Bright.
Craig's one of a number of drivers on the move at the completion of this final round of the championship. He wants to finish strongly, and Seaton off to DJR, Lowndes to 888 Race Engineering, Murphy to Paul Wheel Racing, Baird to WPS, Tander to Kmart, Bright to Ford Performance Racing, though that's not been officially confirmed. Radisish to Team Kiwi. They've announced that Greg Ritter will go to Ford Performance Racing. Warren Luff is out at DJR, and I'm hearing rumours that he'll turn up at Stone Brothers Racing in an enduro seat for next year. Max Wilson's out, and a question mark over whether he'll get back in the series next year, and a lot of discussion about where Stephen Ellery might end up, and there's some possibility could be at 888. They're also looking at other overseas options, and maybe Dean Canto to replace Max Wilson alongside Craig Lowndes. So
this is a thrilling battle for 5th place as Rick Kelly fights off Paul Radisic. Just behind them, Russell Ingall, followed by Stephen Richards, a gap of 5.6 seconds then to Stephen Johnson and Jason Barguana. That's your top 10. This has been, off the circuit. Owen Kelly in his 3rd outing for this team. It's Jason Bright in 3rd place, ahead of Bernard on the track by approximately 10 seconds. There's Bernard. And he is 3 seconds ahead of Rick Kelly, who's at the front of that terrific battle we showed you a few moments ago.
Ian Wally Walburn is the engineer for this car, and they've certainly got the car performing very strongly. There's the margin back to Rick Kelly. This gives you an idea of the physical gaps between the cars. And I think ever so slightly Lowndes could be falling into the clutches of Bright, but I don't know whether there'll be sufficient time for any action to unfold there. Ambrose, Lowndes, Bright, Bernard, Rick Kelly, Radisic. There's Russell Ingall. That is the top 7. Stephen Richards, Stephen Johnson, Jason Barguana is the 10th man in the queue. From Ellery, McConville, Murphy, Seaton, Luff, Dumbrell, Jason Richards, and Mark Scaife is up to 18th. Not a bad recovery, but...
Well, Russell Ingall really wanting to take 2nd place in this championship, making a lot of statements to that effect. And Neil, his battle here, he's locked in this group of 4, now 5 cars. And earlier in the race, he was in a much freer position to take a podium finish. And that pit stop really was what it came down to. So this could be a threat to Ingall's bid for 2nd in the championship. Bright certainly is in much better shape further up the track in 3rd place. Rick Kelly still holding on. Paul Radisic, Ingall, and Stephen Richards. That Dodo entry that's just behind this group of cars is in fact a lap down after having it off earlier in the race. Simon Wills had some problems. The car that's actually behind them in terms of track position is Stephen Johnson. He's about 6 seconds back.
Terrible wasted opportunity, you know, for Mark Skaife. I just looked further down the order to study his times, and he did a 33.5 on lap 11, which means he was only a tenth slower than the time done by Marcus on lap 2. I don't know that he'd have had the car on the day anyway to challenge Marcus, because that car has looked so strong. But terrible when you've got that speed to be buried back in the pack. On board with Stephen Richards. Stephen is 8th at the moment.
Let's have a listen to the Castrol Perkins car as he chases these 3 cars ahead of him. .3 seconds now, the lead enjoyed by this driver. I wonder if he's been able to spare a thought of collecting the championship. Not after Simmons playing, surely. Final lap. Ross Stone watching. Jim Stone. They've done a wonderful job here. The synergy between driver and team has been exceptional. And so much so that not only has Orcon Racing decided to buy this team's engines and use them this year, but another team has come on board with a similar deal for 2005, and that's 888 Racing. So, you know you're doing something right, but the other teams are wanting to get a piece of your technology.
He's nailed it out of turn 9 there and given it a nice old right foot full, crossed it up, and he's only got 2 corners to run now. A light sweat on his face. He hasn't had to work too hard for this one, but it's been a fantastic drive, hasn't it? He's just done it so nicely. 12.3 seconds was the margin on the last lap, and the Ford fans are into it.
Massive noise here at Eastern Creek as Marcus Ambrose wins the race and celebrates his 2nd consecutive championship victory. What a performance.
Thanks for everything. You guys are the best. Thanks, Ross. Thanks, Jimmy. Awesome.
He said it, you guys are the best. 2nd place, Craig Lowndes. What a fight back for Ford Performance Racing. Jason Bright puts Holden on the podium, and in the end it closed the gap to Lowndes to 7/10 of a second across the line. David Bernard, a credible 4th, takes the checkered flag ahead of this freight train of Rick Kelly, Paul Radisich, Russell Ingall and Stephen Richards. Now Stephen Johnson greets the checkered flag as well, and Jason Bargwanna, a solid performance again for a team on the rise, making 10th position. Greg.
Well, Tom Gorman, the boss of Ford, has just come over and wished the team given the team his congratulations. Your 2nd successive title, Ross, in the Championship Series. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's a bit of a relief, actually, you know. We didn't have a lot to do, but, you know, until you do it in this business, it's just an unfinished job.
I spoke to Jimmy before this race, and he said to me, you know, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of what Marcus had to achieve here this weekend, that shootout lap was brilliant. He didn't have to go out and put it on pole. He didn't have to go and have a smashing win like this. The objective was just 15th or better, but he's done it in Ambrose style and your style, hasn't he?
Yeah, it was terrific. There was an awesome lap from Marcus in the shootout. Skaife had really good speed this morning, and, you know, we just thought we would do the best we could. And it turned out all right, and Skaife took a bit of pressure off us in that race, having a problem in the first corner there.
Well, a year ago he was fined for jumping pit wall to celebrate a race victory, and Tony Cochran, the chairman of Vesco, paid that fine because he thought it wasn't worthy of this champion. Let's hear from him.
Wait until he takes his helmet off here, Billy. This is a very, very special moment for Marcus Ambrose, the first driver since Dick Johnson won consecutive titles for the Ford Motor Company in 1988, 1989. How does that feel?
I tell you, it is the best feeling. Last year was so special, but this year, more satisfying, I'd say, for the guys, for everyone that's been here. We've been through a lot. There's been a heap of banter in the press and stuff about, you know, being big-headed and all sorts, but, you know, I'm just a racer at heart, and I just love it out there. And I'm just so proud of everyone that works with me, and what a great result. Really, really happy.
The ingredients said all you needed to do was 15th or better, but you've come out and smashed them.
Well, that's right, and I just wanted to win in style, you know, and I wanted to answer all the critics out there, if there was any, to say, hey, we deserve this championship. it was ours to lose, but we won it in style, and you know that was just fantastic.
Let's confirm the unofficial results for this race 1 tonight. Marcus Ambrose with, look at that, nearly 12 seconds over Craig Lowndes. Then Jason Bright in 3rd place, the first of the Holdens home. A terrific drive from David Bernard in 4th, and then Rick Kelly, that really came out of nowhere, that 5th. They were so far back, those Kmart racing cars. Paul Radisich 6th, Russell Ingall in 7th, Stephen Richards is 8th, Stephen Johnson 9th, and that improved performance of the Dick Johnson racing cars appears to have been real. Looking further across the page, Steve Ellery, Cam McConville, Greg Murphy 13th, and still impressive ground that he made like his teammate. They had a great battle, Glenn Seaton and Greg Murphy. Warren Luff, Paul Dumbrell, Jason Richards, a bit in trouble there early. Mark Scaife, after coming off the front row, finishing 18th, that'll make him seed. Brad Jones, Anthony Trapp, John Bauer, Max Wilson, Alex Davison, and so on. I'm sure you can all read.